oh Canada, to say that this sport has not been kind to you would be a very big understatement. The Maple Leaf Series win drought, the puck that was in the net, Ty Conklin being an Oilers goaltender, the Vancouver Stanley Cup riots in 2011 and 1994, and Chris Kunitz destroying an entire franchise with one goal. That is a lot of suffering for one country, and very few cups to show for it. Since 1993, the Stanley Cup has been solely in the possession of the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. What is this kilometer mumbo jumbo? Am I gonna have to lick up your ass, brother? However, there will always be a team that seems ready, willing, and able to step up and bring that Stanley Cup back to the hat of America. But this season, there's not one, but two teams that look ready to bring the cup back home. And maybe even three, honestly. The Oilers have been on a roll. One of these teams is the Vancouver Canucks, who have improved greatly from their previous season, but fuck them, this video is not about them, it's about the other team, the Winnipeg Jets. Previously having a good season with a big fall off ending with a first round loss to the Golden Knights, they didn't seem like a team anyone expected to do anything this season. I mean, just skimming through the NHL staff writers' predictions, only two people predicted the Jets would even make it to the playoffs, and both were at a pathetic second wildcard spot. Like, no one's ever gonna make the finals as the second wildcard. Ignore the previous season, and 2021. And 2017. Basically, they were a fringe playoff contender that most people didn't think would even fringe playoff contention, and, personally, the only player on the team that I gave a shit about was Kyle Connor. So to say that this team exceeded expectations a tad bit would be like saying Pomu graduating was mildly surprising. As I'm recording this, the Jets are currently tied for first place in the NHL with the Vancouver Canucks, and considering that the Avalanche or Bruins are playing each other and they're both only a point behind the Jets, this statement that I just said is going to be completely irrelevant by the time this video is out. Still, that doesn't change the fact that for a team that lives in Winnipeg, the Jets have been living up to their city's name. The winning part, not the pegging part. So far, they have only played a little more than half of their games this season, and they've already won more games in this one season than the New York Jets have in their past 5 seasons. I mean, yeah, it is the NFL and the New York Jets. They play less games than the NHL, and the New York Jets are the New York Jets, but it's still impressive to say the least. So what made this team so good? Well, you see, the Jets are really good at the D in Dota, which is defense of the ancients. The last time the Jets gave up more than 3 goals in a game was against the Vegas Golden Knights in early November. Since then, they have played 30 plus games without more than 3 pucks going past this Connor Hellebuck fellabuck. In fact, I say more than 3, but they also have a big streak of not even giving up 3. The last time they did that was against the Montreal Canadiens in an overtime loss in December 18th. Keyword overtime. Last time they gave up 3 in regulation was in late November against the Oilers. Have you noticed so far that all 3 of those bad things that they've done have all been done last year? It's now 2024 and they haven't done any of these things so far. But maybe you're not a fan of the past. Maybe you're not a Leafs fan. So let's just look at the face value 2023 to 24 stats, and oh, would you look at that? The Jets have given up less than 100 goals this season. Their 99 goals surrendered is the least goals surrendered of any team in the league, and 10 less than the second least goals surrendered, which belongs to the LA Kings. If you want someone to thank for this great defense, I'd probably thank the all-star head coach Rick Bosands. The season before his hiring had Paul Maurice, their previous head coach, leave the team in December, and his replacement Dave Lowry being unable to make the team suddenly good, and the Jets missed the playoffs. And worse, with what multiple players were saying about the team, it started to seem like the culture was actually damn good. And then they got Rick Bowness, and he turned the Jets defense into a not very good 2-5-7 to a pretty good 2-2-5. And then, later in the season, the Jets kind of fell off. But perhaps Bowness's disappointment and disgust in how that season ended helped fuel the Jets to become bigger and better next season, which I don't know if they got bigger. I don't really care about the weights or heights of the players, but they definitely got better. One change Bowness made to the defense was switching it from a man-to-man zone hybrid to a pure zone defense, which no idea what that means. I'm just reading what the Athletic says, but the results speak for themselves. But enough of that boring, lame coach who doesn't even get on the ice. Let's talk about the guys that actually do get on the ice, starting with none other than Connor Hellebuck. This guy's been the Jets' star goaltender for a good while now, and unlike other goaltenders on other Canadian teams, he's actually been consistent. And that remains the case this season, where he's been making a great case for the Vezina Trophy. Look at these these numbers. That's second in GA and third in %, as shown by his goals saved above expected, which is in first by a wide margin. It seems nobody expected him to be this good, and if you still think, some other schmuck could have done this, guess what? You have been drafted to a war. This war, to be exact, which, just like his Gasacks, is at the top of the league, again, by a wide margin. He ain't the only Jets goaltender kicking ass and chewing bubblegum, though. There's also Laurent Brossoit, whose %, is only 0.002 less than Hellebuck. Outside the net, there's other players doing their thingy-thangies. Mark Scheifele, Josh Morrissey, Dylan Sandberg, Dylan Not Sandberg, they're all doing their thingy-thangies. Brendan Dillon, despite being really old, he probably chilled with Julius Caesar back in the day, he's still making some hits. Neil Pionk, he used to be sucky-wucky last season. Guess what? He ain't sucky-wucky no more. And then you got these guys, Alex Iafallo, Gabe Velarde, and Rasmus Kupari, who came from the LA Kings and have made themselves comfortable with the team this season. Scoring-wise, the Jets have done pretty good for a team that hasn't had Kyle Connor for 16 games. You've got your Mark Scheifeles, your Nikolai Ehlers, your Josh Morrisseys, and even this little baby Cole Perfetti, who are all getting pucks past the net pretty efficiently. But definitely their best goal scorer, who recently came back from injury, welcome back, it's Kyle Connor, ladies and gently boys. Despite all the games he's missed, he still leads the team in goals at 18.
Ooh, nice and legal.
And his goals per 60 minutes is 1.99, which is fourth in the league behind these three fine gentlemen. Basically, he's really good and really great and really underrated. I don't know why the media doesn't talk more about him. Probably because he plays in Winnipeg, you idiot. And lastly, back to Rick Bowness, because here's the thing that I almost forgot to mention but thought was interesting enough to put in this video, was a phone call with him and Josh Morrissey.
It's about drive, it's about power, we stay hungry, we the bow, put it in the work, put it in the... Fuck.
So Josh Morrissey's out on the golf course with Mark Scheifele and Verbalace playing a good old game of who can waste the most money on softcorn porn of themselves getting fucked by Charlie from Has-Been Hotel. I think you already know who won that game, when suddenly Morrissey gets a phone call from Dick Sands, who's like, "You better win this round or else I'm gonna cause World War IV up in this bitch." And Morrissey's like, okay. And later that day they reconnected, and Bonus, instead of telling Josh what to do and what not to do, he instead asks him what he think the team needs.
So does anyone on your team need like some moon sand? Because like I've got a bunch of it. I don't even remember where I got it, but I've got a lot of it.
He would ask these questions about the team, as well as ask Morrissey what his goals were and what he wanted to do. Rick will be like,
"What are your goals for this season?"
And Josh will be like, "I don't know, win the Stanley Cup." And Rick will be like,
"Okay, and after you win the cup, what are you gonna do after that?"
And Josh will be like, "I don't know, play League of Legends." And Rick will be like,
What? League of Legends? You're one of those people? You play that instead of the superior MOBA Dota 2? What, you a stupid loser, baby? What, is it because all those VTubers play that instead of Dota? Do not play stupid with me. I've seen how much money you spent on those VTubers. I've seen all those VTubers, how many of them play League, and it seems like every single generation there's another VTuber that plays League of Legends, that loves that game. And meanwhile, us Dota fans, we're lucky to even get one per 5 generations that even cares enough about Dota 2 to consider mentioning it offhandedly. And like even in the rare instance where we do get a Dota VTuber, a VTuber that likes playing Dota, she never fucking plays it, or like she hasn't played it in years. Why is it like this? Why can't we have all those big goddamn collabs that those League players have, those League VTubers have, all those League collabs? Meanwhile, we haven't had a single one from any of those gorbos on Dota 2. Why is it like this?
I think this one phone conversation speaks a lot about Bonus and how he was able to get this team to do so well. Acting more as a father figure than a head coach, he got the players to open up more and be more honest with each other and got them on the same page, which has then led to more wins, more points, and more good times. So once again, give your thanks to Rick Bonus, because he told Josh Morrissey outright that he thought he belonged in the Norris Trophy conversation, and then Josh Morrissey proceeded to have his best season of his career. Basically, all around, this team's really good. In the war zone that is hockey, the Jets have been flashing their guns and balls and making the opposing teams look like Barbie dolls. But I personally think they haven't had their biggest test yet, which would be later in the season, where in previous seasons they had collapsed. If this season the Jets can enter the playoffs without doing that collapsing thing, then maybe this might be the team that can bring home the Stanley Cup to Canada again, which I personally think has been long overdue for Winnipeg, not for Canada. Fuck you, America forever, I say, as my favorite hockey team is a Canadian team. But I think the Jets and Winnipeg as a whole have been long overdue for not just the Stanley Cup, but a finals appearance in general. I think the whiteout would look great in the finals, and as long as it's not the Oilers who break Canada's 30-year cup drought, I'm fine with it. And while I may not be the hockey expert that I sometimes pretend I am, I will still give some advice to the Winnipeg Jets. Do not imitate your Atlanta neighbors. Sunshine, that would finally show. I might die if I stay in this cold. And I finally admit it, I gotta be committed to let this story unfold.